Back in late 2020, when the world was still reeling from the pandemic, I turned to rideshare, driving to stay afloat. My regular job had vanished overnight, and Uber was one of the few ways I could make money quickly. Driving mostly night shifts meant encountering all kinds of passengers, drunks, weirdos, quiet types, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened one chilly, striding night in October. It was just past midnight when I dropped someone off near a hotel on the edge of town. A new ride request came in almost instantly. Pick up at a dimly lit bowling alley that looked like it had been closed for hours. The name on the request said Derek. I figured it was another late night rider. No big deal. When I pulled up, the parking lot was empty except for one guy standing under a flickering light. He was tall, dressed in a gray hoodie and jeans, and kept his head low like he was staring at his shoes. He didn't wave or move until I rolled down the window and asked, "You, Derek?" He nodded without saying a word and got into the back seat. I confirmed the drop-off address, a quiet residential area about 20 minutes away, and he just said, "Yeah," in a weirdly flat tone, not slurred like he was drunk, just empty. He didn't say another word for a while. Every time I checked the rearview mirror, he was just staring forward, completely still, eyes fixed on the back of my head. Trying to lighten the mood, I asked how his night had been. He answered, "Just had to get away." And when I asked, "From what?" he replied, "Doesn't matter." As we got closer to the destination, the neighborhood changed. More trees, fewer lights, fewer houses. Finally, he leaned forward and said, "Pull into that driveway there." The place looked totally abandoned. It was peeling. The yard was overgrown, and there weren't any lights or cars. I hesitated. "Is this your house?" I asked. "Just pull in," he repeated. I parked near the front. He didn't get out. Instead, he stared at the building, then mumbled, "Wait here," and walked around the side of the house, disappearing into the dark. I waited 2 minutes. Something didn't feel right. I canceled the trip and began to reverse, but before I could back out, I saw him walking back fast. His face had changed. He looked tense, maybe angry, maybe excited. I unlocked the doors, thinking it might de-escalate things. He got in and said, "Take me to the other place." I asked what he meant. He just replied, "Just drive. I'll tell you." I told him I couldn't go anywhere unless he updated it in the app. He wouldn't speak, just stared. Finally, he told me to go back to the bowling alley. That drive back was terrifying. The silence in the car felt heavy, like it was pressing on my chest. When I tried to make small talk, he said, "You ever wonder how you'll die?" I nervously laughed and said, "Not really." He leaned back and whispered, "I think about it all the time." Then he added, "You picked the wrong guy up tonight." He got out without another word and disappeared into the dark behind the alley. When I got home and checked the ride history, his name was gone. No profile picture, no ride details, nothing. Like the trip had never happened. In 2021, I was still driving Uber full-time, late night shifts, mostly weekends. This one ride started like any other request from someone named Chris near the edge of downtown. The location pin was strange, near the back of an old strip mall, but sometimes GPS glitches. When I pulled up, a guy in a hoodie was standing on the corner, staring at his phone. I said, "Chris," and he nodded, got in the back, and stayed completely silent. He didn't talk when I greeted him, just held his phone flat in his lap, his flashlight on, pointing upward toward the ceiling. It gave the car this weird, low glow. I asked if everything was okay, said yeah, and turned off the light. The destination was on the far side of town, a quiet suburb I rarely went to. For the next 20 minutes, it was dead silent. No sound but the car engine. Something about him just didn't feel right, like His mind wasn't all there. Asterisk, we got to the address. The house was pitch black. No porch light, no indoor light, nothing. I asked if this was it. He didn't respond, just stared out the window. Finally, he nodded, got out, but didn't shut the door. Stood outside, frozen, breathing heavily. Called out, "Hey, you good?" He turned slowly and said, "I need to go back." I asked, "Back where?" He said, "Where you picked me up." Flat tone. No emotion. Asterisk. I told him he'd have to request a new ride. He whispered, "I can't. They're not gone yet." That sentence chilled me to the bone. I asked, "Who's not gone?" No answer. Asterisk. Eventually, he walked up to the house. I drove off, confused, and creeped out. I pulled into a 24-hour gas station a few minutes later to use the restroom. When I came back, he was in my back seat. Asterisk. Same hoodie. Same blank expression. Asterisk. I froze. I know I locked the car. I had no idea how we got in. But he just sat there like nothing happened. Back in 2020, when the pandemic turned everything upside down, I started driving for a ride-hailing app to pay my bills. I'd lost my retail job and needed a quick way to survive. Working late-night shifts meant meeting all kinds of people, some odd, some hilarious, and some just drunk. But nothing prepared me for what happened one October night. Asterisk. It was just past midnight when I dropped a passenger off near a cheap motel on the edge of town. Right after, I got another ping. The pickup was just 6 minutes away, outside a bowling alley in a dying strip mall. The name on the request was Derek. When I arrived, the place was empty, just a few flickering parking lot lights. The bowling alley was closed. But there was a man standing beneath one of the lights, wearing a gray hoodie. He stood, motionless, staring at the ground with his hands in his pockets. I rolled my window down and asked, "Are you Derek?" He just nodded and got in the back seat. Asterisk. He confirmed the destination, a quiet residential street about 20 minutes out. Something about his tone felt off, not drunk or stoned, just flat, like there was no emotion at all. I tried to brush it off. Asterisk. The first few minutes of the ride were dead silent. Every time I glanced at the rearview mirror, he was staring straight ahead, not at his phone, not out the window, just directly at the back of my head. Asterisk. Trying to break the silence, I asked him how his night was going. He muttered, "Just had to leave." When I asked where he left from, he replied, "Doesn't matter." Asterisk. As we neared the drop-off, the neighborhood grew eerily quiet. No lights, huge yards, and thick trees. When we were close, he suddenly leaned forward and said, "Can you pull into that driveway?" Asterisk. The house he pointed at looked abandoned, peeling paint. No lights, no cars. I hesitated, asked, "This your place?" He just said, "Pull in." Against my better judgment, I did. Asterisk. I parked. He didn't move, just stared at the front door and whispered, "Wait here." Then walked around the side of the house and vanished into the shadows. Asterisk. I waited for a minute, then two. My gut was screaming to leave, but I didn't want to get flagged by the app. I finally ended the ride manually and started backing out. That's when I saw him walking back fast and empty-handed. His expression was twisted, almost excited. Asterisk. He yanked the door open and said, "Take me to the other place." When I asked where, he said, "Just drive. I'll tell you." I told him he needed to put it in the app. He just stared through the mirror. Asterisk. Eventually, he said, "Take me back to the bowling alley." Asterisk. I didn't argue. The whole drive back, I could feel him watching me, like he was burning holes in the back of my head. Trying to break the tension, I joked, "Rough night." He replied, "You could say that." I asked if everything was okay. Asterisk. He responded, "Not yet." Asterisk. Once we reached the strip mall, I pulled up to the same spot I found him. Before I could say anything, he leaned forward again and asked, "Ever wonder how you're going to die?" Asterisk. Laughed awkwardly. "Not really." Asterisk. He didn't laugh. Just leaned back and said, "I think about it all the time." Then he stepped out, half closed the door, turned to me and whispered, "You picked up the wrong guy tonight." Then he disappeared into the dark. When I got home, I checked the trip details. The name Derek was gone. No picture. Trip history. Nothing. Like he was never in my car.